Today, we're just going to do an extreme makeover today, as I call it. Today we have our man Cliff here. He graciously, humbly agreed to allow me to videotape him as I transform his locks back into locks. What we're going to do today is, this is Cliff's hair. He started out with locks or braids, and what happened was it just went its own way. And that's what a lot of times with locks they do. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be separating all this matted down here, and we're going to be putting it back into places in his hair. So now you see it. Smile, Cliff. Good morning. I'm going to saturate it with a lot of soap to separate those locks that are tightly knit, and then we're going to begin our transformation. We started out with 2 patches of this mattedness, right? I put an extra triple dose of shampoo in it, and now on this side, let me spin you around close to the back, where this other mat was, voila. We still have some work to do right here, but this is just a quick update because I want you to see that a matting is not necessary. The end of the situation for locks, where you might have to strip it away, where somebody might tell you that you should get rid of it. You see how easy that was? The soap is helping me separate his locks back to where they used to be, because there is a pattern. They may break up a little bit, but this is all we're doing right now. We'll be back as soon as I can get the other side done, and then we'll show you what it looks like after we wash it. All right? What we're doing, we've managed to move this clump and break it down even more, and then all we're doing is just separating, because it wants to return back to where it's going. See how easy that is? That's the secret of the shampoo, because if you look closely, you see his hair is brown. That's just a buildup of oil and dirt that's been in there since he wasn't really maintaining it. But you see how we're just separating it. And these are really lock patterns, because when I twist this up, if I twist this up, voila, it forms a lock. So that's what we're looking for. Anything that wants to separate, we're just restoring it. That's why I call myself the restorationist. So it's not really hurting Cliff, because we're really using a lot of soap. And see how it's just breaking apart. We're just asking for it to just separate and come back to where it wants to go. All right? It looks rough, but it's not really. And when we're done, we're going to be able to wash this all and get it even more healthier for Cliff. Okay? Look at that. Perfect. That's what I'm talking about. See, because what happens is when you mat your hair, the oils from the scalp that produces it, that's producing the oil, it just binds in there and doesn't want to come out. So we have to help it out a little bit. I wanted to show you the finished product of the first part. This is stage 1, where we separated all the matting. Cliff, spin around for me. Okay, all the definitive locks that were there when he first started are all there. Just asking for now direction and guidance. Spin me this way a little bit more. All of that, just beautiful hair, you know, nothing. Just asking for direction, like even when we find one that might be a little bit, that needs a little bit, that wants to separate also, we just slide up until it's ready to make its own mark, okay? Now we're going to wash this out. The incredible amount of dirt and oil that's in there, we won't want to brush it out, because that's just how it is when you mat your hair up. But as soon as with the next phase we're coming back is we're going to see what it looks like after it's been rinsed, and then we're going to start to dry. Then we're going to start to twist it. I wanted to show you the results of what we did with the washing. We only lost that much hair. Okay, that's important when you're talking about somebody's hair, because it means something. That's one little small part of a lock. This is just strands of the hair that was collected. This is another little portion of a lock, and this is another little portion of a lock. But what we lost was nothing in comparison. So now I want to unveil. This is the post look. All right, and we've got division and separation, and just hair now waiting for movement. I'm gonna spin around back, show you where all that mat was. Show you where all that matting was. and it's not there anymore. There's no, it's all separated. But believe me, if it wasn't for the soap, it would have been a lot harder. So whenever we separate something, we want, even now, this is still pliable to separate, but now it's too fragile because it would break off. But we do have where we want to be right now, and I'm happy with it. Cliff turned back around. So what are you thinking so far, my brother?
Looking good.
All right, amazing so far, just the transformation. But locked, matted here, it has memory in it, from my philosophy. So we're going to just take all this and we're going to combine it up. We're going to use the Marcel Pearl Wax to put it in that pattern and tighten it up, and then it's going to be locks all over again, or restored locks. And that's why I call myself a restorationist, and that's what we're here to do today, to show you the difference in the techniques. We don't put oil and all that stuff in there that damages your locks and makes it heavy and all that. Hopefully you'll enjoy what you see the finished product. All right, we'll show you when I finish the first quarter. It'll be this section right here. Then I'll come over here and do this section, and then we'll do the varietals, the two sections, the front two, and then the back two, and then the hair will be done. And we'll be back after the first portion of the first varietal. Okay? Just wanted to show you the first quadrant of the first side of his head done, which is this side. We just cut it in a section. Now right here, this was all broken off, so we don't have any real locks. We just have a lot of new growth. So as that comes in, then we're going to put it in there. But see how these locks, they were waiting to come back in. They're kind of still in the shock right now. Some of them are, you know, what we do is we take a little curl wax, and as they accept the pattern, we cinch it down, because that's a new growth up there, and we want to pull it down into the lock, wiggle it down, and voila. And then I've also set up my border here so that we at least know where the locks are going to come in at. When we do it, we want to go down along the side so that they'll have a place to go to. And as we just see, this is what's going to be here. And this is a transition. What we do is take a little curl wax. Sometimes the heavier, the thicker the lock, we want to add a little bit more curl wax, because that's going to push out some more of the dirt, some more of the heaviness. And all I'm doing is just still twisting down the whole thing, cinching all that new growth into this place so that it stays into that place. I'm wiggling it down. And then this is called anchoring. Anchoring is important because the new growth is following the older growth. So we want to pull that into it, get it to bite inside of it, inside the center of the lock, and then slide down. And that's what we're doing. And because we wanted to have a little bit of mobility, we just clip that end, because we put right there, and that allows for all this to move down, because what happens is this was braided first, and that's not going to allow it to receive the pull down. So we've just taken that out, that little clump of braid, and we just leave it like that. This time we've got the first quadrant and the second quadrant finished on Cliff's head. I want to show you the definition of, you know, just putting it back into its spaces and everything else. We started a couple new ones. As they grow in, they're going to be fuller and they're going to get longer, and it's going to be healthy. All right? So we see now Cliff's front face, before we couldn't, I mean, it was all matted back here. Everything was like it was like a matte cap, actually. But we've got some movement in his hair. We brought back some of the youth in his face, about 10 years of his face back to him, everything else. And now we just have the last part the third and the final portion is this back here and here. So you're going to see what it looks like before I get to it, because this is where this is where the cap was. You know, so we're going to take all this and we're going to spin it in and tighten it down and anchor it into the cylinder, and then it'll be completed. All right? We'll be back when that's done again. Peace for now, and I hope you're enjoying what we're doing. This is called restoration lock work, okay? Everybody can be a loctician, but you have to know what you're doing by experiencing on yourself. And I've never had matted locks, but I've paid attention to it. And my philosophy, like I said before, if a lock is like a child, if you do nothing, then it becomes nothing. But if you add into it and if you put an effort towards it, you'll get something good out of it, okay? Especially a good, strong, positive effort. And this is what Cliff has done. He's decided that he didn't want to keep his mats like that, his locks like that, and he didn't want to have to cut it all off, because most locticians would have said, cut this stuff off, I can't work with it, okay? Now that's being honest. If other people want to say they could do this too, more than welcome for them to try, but this is just tight, surgical hair repair, okay? That's what restoration locksmithing is. This is the final product. Remember, we started off on this side by putting a border around his hair so we'll know what to go in with. Then we came to this side and we put another border on this side to start with, okay? And this was the last quadrant right back here that we were fixing in the back here. So now we have separation. We even have spacing so that there's air. Can you feel that? In your scalp. Couldn't feel that before, right? All right. So this is the completed, finished product. Started off matted. His wife's happy. His children are happy. So what do you think? It's great. I feel great. Feel great? All right. Any questions? You know how to reach me? The Lockone. This is just another example of the kind of work that a restorationist can be able to do if he knows exactly what he's doing. I started off on my own. I started off by doing my own locks. The first one started on Monday. On Tuesday morning, after she put that styling gel in there, I went behind her with beeswax. And my finished product is that as I move my hair comes to the surface and rises first and then swings. Okay? In about 6 months, actually not even 6 months, as he goes on and his hair grows back and fills out, we're going to come back and look at his hair again, and we're going to see how we now, after we've separated it, now we're going to debride it over a period of time, because his hair is still in shock, but it's laying well and it's accepting the pattern well, and everything in his head is twisted counterclockwise. It's 12, 11, 10, 9. But this is the finished works. Doesn't look bad. It actually looks very nice. I'm very happy with what I was able to do with it. I'm sure the client and his wife and his children. What do you say?